All right. This afternoon's meeting is being conducted electronically and is allowed based on the governor's state of emergency declaration for COVID-19 and the city council's continuity of government ordinance. And we do have two presentations for this meeting, one for the budget presentation and another for our staff presentation for the recreation center. I'll display those, and our presenters will be mindful of those who are on the phone and are unable to see. So they'll be able to read the pertinent information off of the slides, and it'll be distributed afterwards. At that, the remainder is redundant. So over to you, Commissioner Fentress.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, we'd like to go ahead and do the roll call. Beth, if you could.
All right. And for those on the screen, if you're able to, if you do have your videos on, you can raise your hand. I have Commissioner Brunke. You can also unmute your mic if you're able, and I don't see her here. Commissioner Davis.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Dolan. Don't have her here. Commissioner Ewell. Commissioner Felton. There we go. Commissioner Felton, if you're able to hear us, there we go. I've unmuted your mic. Are you able to speak on that one? This will be a little bit of a test too. Commissioner Felton, I can see your name and see that you're present there, but I'm not sure if you're able to get the sound through. Perfect. Yay, I heard it. And Commissioner Fentress?
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Giroux? There we go. Commissioner Monaco?
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Payne?
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Prosser?
I'm here.
Thank you. Commissioner Tower?
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Tierney?
Here.
Thank you. And Councilwoman Wooten? There we go. I was able to hear a little bit of a sound bite. There we go. Were you able to hear us okay, Commissioner Wooten? There we go. She is here. Commissioner, the rest are the liaisons, and just so that everyone can know who is here, I do see Captain Harris and Mr. Freeman, Mr. Alaska, Ms. Gambito, Ms. Stevens is, I'm not sure if she's on the line, and Mr. Chandler is here, and Mr. Anoya. All set. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Okay, I'm going to ask, since a lot of us are doing it through the phone, on this part here about the minutes, if you can just say if you're approved, or if you're going to second, or however when we go through the procedure. Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes from March 4th, 2021? If so, do I have a motion to approve?
Commissioner Fentress, if you don't mind, I did have two changes that were sent to me in email after circulating it. Just the word altogether was separate, ALL together instead of AL together, to get the correct meaning across. Commissioner Tierney did abstain from the minutes, the approval of the minutes last time, just because he had been absent from the previous meeting. It's not necessary from the Roberts Rule of Order, but it is what he chose to do in that case. Still, the minutes have gone by with approval from the majority
Okay.
from past meeting. That's the only change.
Okay, thank you. We have approved. Anyone approve? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, minutes have been approved for March 4th, 2021. Okay, going down to agenda additions. Do we have any additions? Anybody have anything to add? If not, we go down to correspondence about Bayville Park, unmanning parks.
Mike, if I could just chime in real quick, just a suggestion. I know that we have
Yes, sir.
Captain Harris and Jack Freeman on. My recommendation would be to, just because it's an awkward meeting and it's virtual, my recommendation would be to move Liaison Reports up to now. Then they could commence with their report, and if they need to or want to, they could then leave the meeting and not stay till the end for their part.
Okay, sounds great. We'll do it. Okay, liaison reports from MYLA. Stevens.
Yeah, hello, it's Ilias. Katie's not going to be here today. But for MYLA, just yesterday we had our third session of the Peer Buddies program. And for YADAP, the YADAP group, we just finished our second session. And we're going to have the third session on April 14th. And we're still planning the run walk event for that.
When's the run walk going to take place?
We're still planning it, but we're thinking like May, around the end of May. We're still trying to figure everything out with like the COVID location and dates and all that.
Gotcha. Thank you. Anything else?
No, that's basically it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to go to schools with Mr. Jack Freeman. How are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you. And I don't have a specific update other than to say I'm very happy to be back into this meeting with you. Over the past year, getting kids back in school has been a priority, and it's taken every bit of effort from everybody involved, including our partners. So appreciate it. Happy to be back as part of the process, and I hope to be more consistently here with you moving forward. But I'm happy to take any questions anybody has for me.
Any questions, anybody? Okay, thank you very much, Jack.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go to a police report. Captain Harris.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. We haven't had a whole lot of activity at the parks as far as the police go. The only major incident was on the 28th at Mount Trashmore. We had about a dozen people on motorcycles and ATVs ride across the property up onto the top of the hill. Park employees went up to speak with them. One of them slapped the phone out of the employee's hand, and then they rode off, did some donuts in the grass, and then drove off the property. Unfortunately, most of them were very COVID compliant, wearing masks, so they're a little hard to identify. But currently a detective from the 4th Precinct is looking into it as best he can, based on the video the parks employee was able to get. Spoke with the commander at the 4th Precinct, and he's just made his staff aware, and they're going to increase patrol around Mount Trashmore for the coming days. I assume since they were ATVs, they had to live very close, somewhere in the neighborhood surrounding the park. The only other thing is scheduled in about a half hour. There's supposed to be a rally for police accountability at Mount Trashmore. Could be at Mount Trashmore, could be a march from the Chimney Hill to Mount Trashmore. We have some officers from the 4th Precinct will be monitoring the area to ensure these folks have the right for their First Amendment rights to self-expression in the area. And if there's any problems, they'll be able to address it relatively quickly. I would expect at the oceanfront parks and Mount Trashmore, because it is an ideal location, that in the coming weeks, as the weather gets a little warmer and based on the events from last week, we may see more expressive events in the parks. That's about all I have for my end. If you have any questions, I'm happy to help out.
Thank you, Captain. Anybody have any questions?
I
Thank you very
have a
much.
question.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yes.
I just want to about the donut in the park ground with the motorcycles.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Michael, how was that ability to get that cleaned up, or health-wise, or are you on top of it already, or are we still investigating the damage that was done?
So in terms of our staff, they did film it. We sent that to the police. There was no permanent damage or any major issues. Where there was a little donuts in the dry grass area, we'll just kind of oversee it and address. But there was no permanent damage to the park, thankfully, or injuries as far as I know.
So on that note, and this is related, but do we have any policies or signs that say no motor vehicles or motorcycles on that area? Is that not one of the compliance or not?
I'm not sure about specific signage that says that, but that is a city ordinance that you can only operate those vehicles in approved areas. So they're not permitted in there. You can't just drive an ATV or motorcycle across a park, no matter what park it is. But there's not a specific sign that says that, nor do we want to put that in every park.
There's so many entrances around Mount Trashmore, it would be very difficult to post every location. Was there another question?
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Captain Harris.
Thank you.
I just wanted to also give a big shout out to the police department. If you haven't seen a really cool new program that we're doing with them, the toy ride along, where kids can bring their toy in the SeaTac Rec Center. The toys do a ride along with a police officer, and the police officer takes pictures throughout the day, and then the toy is returned to the person. It's gotten a lot of buzz on social media. A lot of parents are really enjoying it. I just want to thank the police department for partnering with us on this really unique program during COVID.
That's neat. Thank you.
So Michael, say something about that as well. Anyway, I want to say thank you for that program. It is adorable. It is very educational. And today or tomorrow, I'm having to go pick up my grandbaby, Sam the squirrel, who's been riding around with you all. Thank you so much for that program. They're really excited.
That's great. Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you. I'll pass that along to the officers who are engaging in that. They'll appreciate the feedback.
Thank you, Sharon. All righty, Councilwoman Wooten, you have anything for us?
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you. Just very briefly, I know last time we talked, we were talking about the budget. We did start as a council our presentations about the budget, and we are going to have a public meeting on April the 21st. Fortunately, due to the expected volume of people coming out, it won't be in person, but it will be through WebEx. So if you're interested in participating or making comments, you certainly are welcome to do so at that time. And the budget process, will be taking place until we have the final meeting to approve it in May, and I believe that'll be in May 18th. As it relates to, I'm sure many of you have probably heard about the shootings and everything that took place on Friday. Just to let you know, if you don't know, there was an emergency meeting that I called on Tuesday, where we were able to at least get some updates from the Chief Newdigate, and he provided us with a good number of details as he could, but that matter has been referred over to the state police, who will do an independent investigation. Council is actively looking for ways to address the violence and the activity down at our oceanfront. There are ways that we are going to support the police in that effort, and work with our community leaders, our faith leaders, and also our business owners to ensure that we're supporting them the way they need to be supported, especially with this upcoming tourist season. A lot of things that we have in play, we're going to have to expedite them a little bit sooner because the weather is getting warmer and we want to be prepared. And so that's just briefly some information that I have and updates that I have. I'm happy to take any questions that you might have. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Councilwoman, I just wanted to say thank you. I watched that emergency meeting, and it was got a lot of information there. Thank you so much for calling that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
All righty. The foundation?
The foundation is having a fundraiser that is online with selling of T-shirts for the cherry blossom. We are putting together an online auction that hopefully could happen, believe in July. So we'll be bringing more information out for that. But other than that, we're just holding course and trying to do what we can do. That's all I have.
Thank you, Nick. Any questions for Nick? Okay. Liaisons, thank you very much. If y'all want to leave in, if not, you can stay right on there. All righty. Michael, going back up to the correspondence about Bayville Park and the unmanning part.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if you've seen some of the correspondence, but I've certainly received at this point 2 emails from concerned citizens who are hearing, I'm not sure where they're hearing it, although I have my suspicions, and believe that we are unmanning and no longer going to be maintaining Bayville Farms Park, which is one of, in my opinion, one of our nicest parks in the system and probably one of my favorites. That is not the case, so I just want everybody to be aware. If you haven't seen my response, I will have Beth send it out to the entire commission, so in case you receive any inquiries from the public, you'll know kind of the truth and the full picture. We are not completely unstaffing Bayville Farms. It's not as if it's going to be unmaintained. We may have staff no longer report there first thing in the morning, but they will get there throughout the day and maintain the park. And this is due to changes we started 2 years ago in terms of how we're going to maintain the parks. So it's part of a much grander scheme. My gut tells me there perhaps maybe 1 or 2 employees not happy with some changes, and they're talking to public citizens and kind of spinning it a certain way. But we will send you my response so you can see the whole picture.
Great. Thank you, Michael.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions for Michael on that? Okay. Thank you, Michael. All right. Does anybody have any old business they'd like to bring up? Any new business? Okay. At this time, we'd like to start with the staff reports. And Tracy, you can give us a recreation update.
Sure. I just want you all to know Michael asked me to report on revenues, and I hate to come in front of all of you and report on revenues in the rec center and the impacts of COVID, because let me tell you, it's not pretty. But I'm going to tell you some good stuff we do too. So Beth, if you'll put up the presentation for those that can see it.
Will do. Hopefully you can see it there. I'll get some nods. Yeah. Okay. Just let
Okay.
me know when you need me to move along.
Okay. As you can see, this is a beautiful picture of Bow Creek Rec Center in the back. It's probably the view from the side from the golf course. Go ahead and turn the page. I was going to do some cute little noises, but that said no, just turn. Anyway, the comparisons I'm going to show you on the next chart are from July 1st, 2018 to March 29th, 2021. So that'll be comparing 2 fiscal years and fiscal year to date through March 29th this year. We went back to fiscal year 18-19 as that was the last full year we've had because we closed our recreation centers on March 16th, 2020. Go to the next one. As you can see, fiscal year 19, and this is only our membership information, we made $4,185,254 in fiscal year 19. In fiscal year 20, leaving off mid-March through the end of June, we were closed. We only made $2,838,950. And then year to date, we've only made for this current fiscal year, we reopened 2 of the sites on June 28th and the other 5 sites opened July 7th. But as you probably would guess, people weren't coming in droves to come back inside in the middle of the COVID pandemic. And we also, we had to put in intensive cleaning procedures, go through the entire emergency operations team, occupational health, follow the Virginia Department of Health guidelines. So there's intensive guidelines we had to go by, and our capacities were greatly reduced. All members had to go online and reserve activities. Like our capacity for our weight rooms, a lot were around 20 because you had to maintain 10 feet of separation. And at certain points in this current fiscal year, the governor had us for our group fitness classes go down to 9. Let me tell you, people were not happy. So I don't think it's a matter of demand. I think it's a matter of we don't have capacity. The other thing that I wanted to share about this particular slide is in part of the OST memberships, which you know they have been greatly hit too with the spacing requirements and the COVID requirements. We have an OST membership that is included in this, and in 2019, the OST membership was $254,000 for this. And then in fiscal year 20, it was $231,000 because most of theirs is on the front end when they register for school. So most of that comes in September. But in fiscal year 21, we're only at 87,000. So a big part of that is a lack of numbers because they won't allow it for the OST program. So that's impacting rec center memberships also. Turn the page, please. The other thing that's been huge is during COVID, we had to restrict capacity. So we are not allowing day pass users. So there is a big, huge deficit just in day passes. In fiscal year 19, we sold 436,000 and some change in just day passes, fun packs, which are birthday parties, groups that come in, church groups will come in and buy fun packs. So day packs and fun packs have greatly gone away because we don't allow them. So you can see our fiscal year 21 at 0. So we are deficient 436,000 just for day pass, day use. But in fiscal year 20, we were at 288. Okay, so that was huge with no March through the end of June. Next slide. Another thing that has hit the rec centers financially pretty hard are our refunds, and these numbers I'm getting ready to show you are only from March 16th when we closed last year through March 15th this year. Turn the page. when the facility closed, it was right after. We have big registration periods. We don't make the same amount of money every month in the rec centers. It's peaks and troughs whenever registration. Right before the March 16th closure, we had already registered for all the Learn to Swim programs. So all of them were canceled. So we had to refund $121,000 in aquatics, $15,957 in fitness, $89,000 in member services, and that is our memberships, which I think is pretty good. It's only $89,000, but we have had to extend all of our memberships. Like when we closed from March, we extended their memberships until the end of July. And then we've extended some of the other ones, like our Forever Young participants, which are those 65 and older, that can't come yet. We're not holding a program, and that's the only thing they come to. We still have their memberships extended. So we're not refunding, but we're not making that money either in renewals. And then rec services, that's money we had to give back from already scheduled birthday parties, room rentals, and any types of parties that we have. Next. So overall, the refunds we've had to give since March 16th last year was $295,000, and the total revenues since March 15th last year through March 16th this year was $1,265,363. In other words, we're at about $1 million total revenue, which is not where we want to be, but it's the truth. But the good news is, next slide. The rec centers have been much more than rec centers in these past year. We have jumped in and we have really been an important part of the community. We've recently been tapped to hold vaccination pods at 3 of our recreation centers. In our first 3 days, we've almost had 3,000 vaccines distributed. And we are getting confirmation tomorrow about all the additional dates we should be having in April and May. So the rec centers are making a big impact in helping us get through this so we can get back to normal. Whatever normal is, I don't even know what that is anymore. But we also did elections, both the 2 weeks of early elections we had, and then day of elections, we had 29,000 voters at our 3 recreation sites. And then we've also been doing blood drives because there has been, especially early on in the pandemic, the American Red Cross called us and said, nobody will let us in. They've canceled all of our drives. So that is something that we have been able to do and follow protocols and allow that contribution to the community. So even though our revenues aren't good, people that are coming are very happy to be able to come in and work. But we also have had a much bigger calling in the last year to contribute to the community at large. Next. And the last thing I want to talk about, which will probably lead very nicely into Cremena, although the other stuff will probably explain what Cremena is going to talk about in the budget. We have proposed through the budget that we change our membership structure. Our day passes for the youth are going from $7 to $8. The day passes for adults, and I'm reading all this because of those that can't see. So I normally wouldn't do this, so bear with me. Day passes for adults are going from $9 to $10. 30-day memberships are going from $21 to $25. That's unlimited use of the recreation centers. Annual youth residents are going from $39 to $40. 30-day memberships non-residents are going from $43 to $47. Annual adult residents are going from $104 to $110. Annual non-residents are going from $396 to $400. And then the last, and I'm going to explain, we are in our budget proposal, we are eliminating the annual senior membership, the premier membership, which is unlimited drop-in group fitness, resident and non-resident, as well as the fun packs. And what we are going to do is we are able to cover and include in our memberships all people can take drop-in group fitness, as well as have drop-in childcare, because we want to serve the families. We were finding we were losing a lot of the families because everybody includes that in their memberships. So far, so good. We are very excited about this. Our citizens have been asking about just simplify the process, because right now they have to use punch cards and Premier, and it just gets so confusing, and the members come in and they're kind of glazed over. So we feel very strongly that this is a good option. For an additional $6, people are getting anything they could possibly want included in their memberships. Well, not anything, but most things. So it's gone so far, and I know Michael's presenting on it soon, and council will be voting on it soon. So, and that will go into effect July 1, 2021. Okay, next. I think we're done. I think we're done. Questions. Yay. And that's our lovely Kempsville Recreation Center. Any questions?
Yes, Tracy.
Yes.
The detailed,
I'm having a hard time hearing you.
you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
My device is I just like to reflect back on the refund. I ran into a couple who had the full annual for senior citizens, and when the city shut down in March 16th, they have not returned or participated in any way. And they were asking me the accommodation that they should get, or how should they proceed finding out eligible for them, what can they do? So you mentioned in it, would that apply to them as well?
I'm not really hearing you very clearly, but what I think I heard you say is that you know somebody that hasn't been back since COVID hit, and they want, I don't know if they wanted a refund or if they wanted just their membership extended. I would just advise them to call the front desk at one of the rec centers, and they should be able to help you. Now I'm echoing.
So they should call you said they should call the front desk where they applied. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Tracy?
I can hear you now. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah. Just tell them to call the front desk, and tell them to call me. I'll take care of it.
Thank you, Tracy. I do appreciate that. I'll do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other questions? All right. Thank you, Tracy. And our next presentation, I don't have it on my agenda.
It will be part of the director's report
Okay.
towards the end. So
Okay.
we have our finance point of contact here.
Okay, great. All righty. Thank you, Tracy.
You're welcome.
Okay, now to the subcommittee reports. Open Space Advisory Committee. Do we have any meetings?
If you'd like, I can speak for it.
Okay, Nat.
We did have a meeting, virtual meeting, and so we're getting organized. We had a couple of presentations. One was about the work that's going to be done at Bow Creek, the golf course, and what the plans are for in the near future, actually. But they're also working towards pushing for more funding to help us. And I believe we're going to be partnering up with the stormwater department to help with some of the funding that may be coming.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Nick? All righty. Well, thank you, Nick. For the Bikeways and Trails Advisory Committee, Hugh?
Good afternoon, everybody. Just a brief update. We did have a couple of meetings. We had Bikeways and Trails met, as well as the subcommittee for Bike Month met. And we had a WebEx meeting regarding, or with a lot of the city folks on how do we structure and get the word out on the mayor's bike ride. So I need everybody to go into their garages, pump up the tires, and check their helmets, put a little grease on their chains, because we're going to have a ride with the mayor on May 21st at 9 a.m. And I believe what we decided to do in the meeting is we will be leaving out of the Parks and Rec office building. There'll probably be a brief proclamation by the mayor. There'll be some TV reporters there, we assume, and then we'll ride down to City Hall and back. So that is the main thing on the agenda. We've attempted to put a few other things together, and typically in years past, a lot of the other events throughout the region have been hosted by the bike shops, but the bike shops are so busy, they're just assembling and selling bikes as fast as they can, and almost none of them have any activity plans, although we do have a few items we are putting on the calendar that Parks and Rec is helping us with. So that's been the main effort. We received an update on some trails that are being updated. And we've got some Representative Elaine Luria is assisting with trying to help get us some money for some trail studies. And that's about it for Bikeways and Trail. Any questions?
Any questions? All right. Thank you, Hugh. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, and now towards the director's report. Michael?
Good afternoon, everybody. Just a couple quick things. The first one is, I'm sure you're all aware that the governor revised for the fourth time, I believe, Executive Order 72, which does impact some of our services. The biggest impact for us right now, which went into effect today on April 1st, was that group social gatherings have increased to 100. And that means as of today, we have reopened Kids Cove Playground at Mount Trashmore. You want to talk about some upset people for the past month. There were a lot of people still upset that that playground was closed, but it is now fully reopened. And that was the last amenity in the park system that we still had closed. So currently, all outdoor amenities are open without restrictions. Of course, we still ask people to maintain social distancing, wash their hands frequently, just stay in their family groups. But that has been a big change and will certainly help out, because our staff were really getting a little tired of trying to play the playground police out there and try to keep people off the playground. There have been some other changes in those restrictions that really haven't affected us too much. Although the other one that kind of helps us out a little bit is that the indoor fitness classes can go up in occupancy, can go up in numbers up to 50, although we still have to keep 10 foot of distancing and we still have limitations on space. But where we can increase fitness classes from 10 up to 50 people, which will help out as well. Everything else is pretty much the same in terms of restrictions on how many people can be in the fitness center, in the pool, in our childcare, et cetera. So all good stuff. Things are slowly opening up in terms of higher capacity limits. Also, with the 100-person social gathering limits, shelter rentals have just exploded in the past week. So when it was at 10 people and somebody would call for a shelter rental and tell us they got a group of 50 coming, we would not rent them the shelter and they could not rent. But now that we're up to 100, that's pretty much what our shelters can hold. And they're flying off the shelves in terms of people reserving them right now. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Cremena, who's going to give you an update on our budget. If you recall, a couple months ago, we gave you a presentation on what we were going to propose to the city manager in terms of what we'd like to see included in his recommended budget. His recommended budget is now out. Carmen is going to show you what was and was not included in the city manager's recommended budget. I will just tell you now that I was very happy to see pretty much the vast majority of what we requested was approved in his recommended budget, will likely be approved by city council, although there was a couple of things that were not. Carmena will go over that. As you saw on Tracy's really good presentation on the rec centers and how COVID has impacted our rec centers, in terms of revenue, you'll now understand when I say that we're going to be $7 million in the red at the end of this fiscal year, you will now understand why. It's because of the hits to everything from birthday parties, athletics, but certainly rec center memberships, rec center usage, as well as our childcare numbers. All of those areas took significant revenue reductions. We'll be $7 million in the red come June 30th, based on all of our current projections. That money, that's even with holding back on spending. We have, some positions are still being frozen. Even with those cost savings, we'll be $7 million in the red. That money at the end of the year will come from what's called our fund balance to balance our budget. Our fund balance is where all the money goes at the end of the normal year, go into a fund to build over the years to perhaps pay for major projects like rec centers. Last year, we tapped the fund balance by $3 million, because COVID hit towards the end of the year, it was one quarter. This year, we're gonna end up tapping it by $7 million. In addition to that, $3 million was used for tax relief that the city council tapped. So our fund balance has gone from $17 million pre-COVID, which took a decade or more to build up. At the end of this fiscal year, our fund balance will be down around $3 million. Carmena, correct me if I'm wrong, depending on how it works out. So pretty much the fund balance will, in essence, be wiped out due to COVID. Now, that's the bad news. The good news is we had a fund balance. And without that fund balance to balance our budget last fiscal year and this fiscal year, we would likely be in the same boat as many park and recreation systems around the country and even next door to us that have permanently closed down rec centers, that have permanently laid off hundreds of employees. Thankfully, our city council and our city manager did not have to be put in that situation to either find the money elsewhere in the budget to keep the system going or to do major layoffs. But all that being said, I will say this, after next fiscal year, there will not be a fund balance safety net for this department. So we are cautiously optimistic that things will rebound quickly by this summer so that when July 1st hits and we have our next fiscal year come, that we will get through the year with at normal or near normal revenues. Otherwise, next year at this time, we'll be having a very different conversation in terms of how we're going to make up for the shortfall in revenues. But with all that being said, I did want to turn it over to Carmena to show you exactly what was and was not included in the city manager's recommended budget in terms of what we submitted. Carmena?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Well, again, my name is Carmena Dimitrova, and I oversee the finance and budget unit in the department. Beth, would you please pull up the presentation? So as Michael mentioned, I'm going to go over the presentation of our proposed budget as recommended by the city manager. Next slide, please. So what you see in front of you is a list with some of the challenges we were facing when we first started developing our budget for fiscal year 22. Of course, the uncertainty with the department-specific revenue was a big issue for us, and the department-specific revenue comes from individual programs, memberships, field rentals, and the uncertainty uncertainty most likely will continue in the first half of next year, or at least until restrictions are lifted and people are more confident and more comfortable attending programs and recreation centers. In the beginning of our budget process, management services imposed a 95% target for all of our general fund units, which is mostly impacts citywide maintenance, but a little bit of our special revenue as well. Another decrease is in our revenue from OST, out of school time programs. In the current fiscal year, we were asked to cut our budget by $1.8 million, and we based our fiscal year 22 budget based on that already reduced revenue. And we also decided not to transfer the typical $1 million to recreation center CIPs due to low funds in our saving, and as Michael mentioned, in our fund balance. If you're not familiar with the transfer, each year we transfer $2 million total from our operating budget to our CIP recreation center maintenance, and $1 million comes from our annual operating budget and $1 million from fund balance. Since our fund balance will be very low next year, we decided not to do that, which unfortunately will cause some maintenance delays in our rec centers. Minimum wage increase is another big impact that we'll face probably next year, in the middle of next year. Although we did not budget specifically for that, as we weren't sure what the strategy will be, we're working closely with the central HR to come up with a strategy so that impact will be minimal for our budget. As you're aware, majority of our workforce is comprised of part-time staff, which will be most impacted by that. The minimum wage, I don't know if you're familiar, would be a three-phase. The first increase will be May 1st of this year, and the minimum wage will go to $9.50. We don't have many positions at that level. However, the next phase will be January 1st of 2022, where when minimum wage will go to $11.50, and that will probably cause some compressions within our part-time salaries, part-time rates. Again, we're working with central HR to come up with a strategy. As with previous years, we were asked to budget a certain percent for potential salary increases. It's important to note that we don't budget for the entire department. We only budget for the rec centers increase, for potential increases. And this year, the city manager recommended 3% citywide salary increase. Next slide, please. So here is one of our major proposals, as Tracy went over the proposal with more details. But this proposal was recommended by the city manager. It will pretty much be net neutral. As you can see, we're only expecting net revenue of $11,000, little over $11,000. The major changes, eliminating the premium membership, also eliminating the senior membership, the annual membership for adult citizens will increase from $104 to $110. Also, a quick note here, we did have a proposal to increase the membership from $104 to $107 in this fiscal year. However, we decided with all the pandemic and restrictions not to implement that increase. So, and that was approved last year. We will continue providing a reduced fee for all members who qualify. We believe that one membership will provide equity for all the members that attend our programs at the rec centers. We also propose some moderate increases in a few of our programs, two in our therapeutic unit, some field rental fees in sports management, and the Learn to Swim aquatic programs. As you can see, the total net revenue will be approximately $31,000 in that slide. Next slide, please, Pat. Another major proposal recommended by the city manager is the decrease in the staff to participant ratios in our out-of-school time programs, along with provided afternoon snacks. Our recommendation is to lower the ratio from 1 to 18 to 1 to 15. To keep the program revenue at net neutral, we'll propose a fee of $44 increase from $204 to $248 per month. Although this is a significant increase, we'll continue providing reduced fee to all participants who qualify. The net revenue expected is approximately $200,000, and we plan to use that toward a healthy snack for every child and every day. We believe that lowering the ratio will result in higher quality program, greater span of control for staff, great participant safety, smaller group sizes, and likely higher motivation and satisfaction, resulting in lower turnover rates within our staff. Next slide, please. Here are three more proposals within our special revenue fund. The first one, the travel training funding. This was not recommended by the city manager. Last year, when we were asked to cut $1.8 million from our budget, this was part of our cuts. Our leadership, however, is committed to provide training next year if we have healthy revenue. Another recommended proposal by the city manager is the administrative technician position in our marketing unit. What's important here to note is that we have actually we've been employing a contract staff through Abacus for this position, and to assist with administrative and project management tasks within our marketing unit for quite some time. So if this proposal is approved, it will not result in major increased expenditures. Another proposal that was recommended by the city manager is the restoration of the remaining summer youth employee program funding of $82,000. This was also part of our cuts from part of the $1.8 million reduction last year. It was recommended, and in addition to that, we were also approved for $350,000 for the current summer youth employee program. We're very excited, and our Youth Opportunities Office is very busy getting that started. Next slide, please. Here are proposals for the Park and Landscape Services unit. The first one is for restoring the 18-21 day mowing cycle. When we were imposed with the 95% target, we knew that we'll have to make some sacrifices in this area. Fortunately, the amount requested was lowered due to additional state funding, and the remaining funds of $159,000 were recommended by the city manager. Another proposal funding for new CIP projects at amount of $127,000. When new projects are completed, landscape maintenance transfers to the operating budget. Last year was the first year that I know that this was not recommended by the city manager. Fortunately, this proposal was recommended this year. The groundskeeper 1 position that we requested for maintenance at the Princess Anne Athletic Complex and the admin building was not recommended. This position was cut last year, again, as part of the cuts that we needed to make. The next proposal is pretty much net neutral. We were just moving one position from the general fund unit to the tip fund to assist with increased landscape maintenance at oceanfront. Next slide, please. These are two additional proposals that were not recommended. This was part of actually a CIP project from Department of IT. This was not recommended. It was just suggested we put the annual expenses in our operating budgets in case the CIP project was approved. However, it wasn't. So as a result, those two proposals were not approved for I apologize for the people on the phone. These are for Wi-Fi in select parks and modernization of meeting rooms in the recreation centers. And I think that's all from me. Any questions? Or Michael, if you want to add some more details on that.
A lot of information, and we'll get the presentation out, but does anybody have any questions about what was and was not recommended, or any of the decisions that were made?
Probably once we see the presentation, those of us who couldn't see it might have some questions.
Yeah, feel free to reach out to me anytime.
Thank you, Michael. Anything else? Any questions for Michael? Okay, does anybody have good and welfare for the meeting?
I would, Mike, Chairman, Mike.
Yes, sir, Garland.
Yes. I would just like to put out some kudos to the members of the Parks and Recreation staff who use some, I guess, volunteer hours, you'd have to call it that, to help with the vaccinations down at the convention center. I had the privilege of running into Beth, administrative secretary down there, had a nice chat with her, and I just want to put out a round of kudos to those people that are down there doing that, and the sacrifice they're making to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Garland. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Garland.
Okay.
I'm proud of you for getting it, by the way. If anyone does need any help or support, we do have the latest information on where to go. And if you didn't get your emails and you do qualify for any of the tiers, then we can help you, because we have, we're constantly getting updates from the Department of Health and CDC for that. So it's been a team effort. We're meeting people from all over the city.
Thank you, Beth.
Michael, I would just like to say, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Am I still low? Am I still low?
No, you're good.
Great. I'd just like to say too, I like to piggyback on what Garland has said. I want to thank the Park and Rec administrative, you, Michael. I've come with you with several situations with the community, having to learn about the rentals or whatever it has been, and you've been prompt in your response and right on time. Thank you so much. It speaks volume to the community when you come forward with clarify information that they understand. Thank you. I appreciate you all so much, all that you do.
Thank you.
Awesome. Any other comments? Okay, at this time, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any nays? Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Beth,
Thank
Michael,
you.
everybody, getting everything put together for us.
Good seeing everybody. Thanks.
Thank you, and thanks for bearing with me. Take care.
Thank you.
Great job, Beth. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good one.